Hey everybody, this is Caesar with the Local Service Podcast. Welcome to 2023. And today we're going to be talking about the 5 reasons why service-based businesses are great. And this is kind of something I've been thinking about over the last 2-3 years as my business has really defined who we help, how we help them, what we help them with, and what channels we help them with. So if you're not familiar, of course, probably not. We specifically are really good at creating websites and creating SEO and Google Ads strategies to get local businesses more customers online. Okay. So that's like our main bread and butter, as they call it. And in doing so, I've had the palette trained, right? So I've tested and tasted other industries and other types of companies, from e-commerce to education to just like really random stuff that are still businesses excuse me, that are still businesses, and they can still definitely be, worthwhile, as far as like you can make money out of it. They're beneficial, but like it's kind of like a match thing, right? Like certain people are better suited to play soccer than to play baseball, than to play basketball, than to play football. It just depends on what you like, what you're suited for, what you're built for, how you grew up, how you trained, and how you view the world. So I think naturally, for me, at least through the current journey I've gone through, it has been with local services. And honestly, right, it's not like there's a huge amount of businesses you can choose from to focus on. But this is the one I have fell towards. And so I'd like to go over why I really enjoy working with service-based businesses, what the pros are. I don't know if we'll get into the cons, but let's just dive right in. So the number one reason I like service-based businesses is because they're need-based. And what that means is when you're looking for a service, it's usually not because it's a luxury thing or because it's something you dream about doing, right? It's not something that you go home and go on a Pinterest board and just start looking for, like, all right, let me see when I can go to the dentist. All right, let me see when I can get my car cleaned. Let me see when I can get a new roof on my home. Let me see when I need to take out the trash that's been building up in my backyard. Let me see when I need to change my flat tire. All of these are local service-based businesses that are they're need based. They're like things you don't necessarily want to take care of, but you have to take care of. And there's a big difference there. Of course, there's probably services that don't fall exactly into this category, but I would argue that the majority do. And so anytime it's need based, you're not really asking questions as far as like, when should I do it? The question is, when should I do it, and how much can I put into it, and who do I choose? It's not like, all right, I want it to be, I wanted to do this coloring, this customization. I want it to be, it's not so much that. It's like I have a problem and I'm trying to get to a solution. And so one thing I really enjoy about working with local service-based businesses is that that's what it is, like 9 out of 10 times. And so, like, to give you an example, let me pull up here some actual clients that have either we built them a website or they're already working with us, and it's so cool looking back on it, because again, this is just personally my journey. It's like people who weren't local services, and it kind of branches a little bit further than that. So like if you're like in the professional services, so like a lawyer, a doctor, and then break that down, right? Like a personal injury, immigration lawyer, a criminal defense attorney. And then in the doctors, like you can be a foot doctor, you could be a dermatologist, you could be a general family doctor, so those actually turn into, so I wouldn't consider those services per se. They're not necessarily services, but they're still need-based and they're still local. So, I guess you could call it a local business more than a local service. So here are a couple of things. So the auto detailing space, we work with several of those, and it's need-based, right? Somebody wants their car clean. Now you could argue, is that a luxury? And depends on where the perspective is in that person looking for a service, right? So it's very interesting too, because like this gives you the what the personality is for somebody, right? Like to somebody, that'll never be something that they want to purchase. Like I have to have my car clean. Like I have to have it in the best clean scenario that it can be in. But to another group of people, that like they have to have that like at least once a year, or at least every 3 months, or at least every 6 months. So that's a need-based things. And so that can kind of break down into its own thing. Is like what is need-based is only for a demographic. And for another demographic, like they'll never blink an eye, right? So to use myself as an example, what can I use as an example? So, okay, so I personally wouldn't get like a super, super expensive haircut. Like I wouldn't pay $100 for a haircut. I don't think. I haven't experienced it. I really don't want to go down that route. I'm happy where I go, right? Like I know there's places that probably cost $100, $150, $200 to get a haircut, and they do the best job. They probably add additional, like it's not just a haircut. They probably do stuff with like warm towels and hand massages. I don't know. There's probably a lot. And for me, I look at that. I'm like, I just would rather not waste that much time, and I wouldn't want to use my money towards that. Like I'm happy where I'm going. It cost me $45. Not like it's cheap either, but like I'm that demographic for that particular segment in that haircut space, right? And then alternatively, there's the $20 people who are going to say, I would not do the 45 and I would not do the 100. And then alternatively, the $150 demographic that says, I wouldn't do a 45 and I wouldn't do a 20. So it's like, it's unique to each person, and it's always about finding that target audience. That's why it's said so much. Like, they exist. There is a segment, a cluster, a group of people who will need your services. And so to add to the need-based thing, is that the people exist, right? And another thing, the people exist in clusters. So like, just because one person doesn't want it doesn't mean that they're out there. You could run into instances where like, yeah, this is definitely not the place for us. For example, if you lived in a vegetarian community and you wanted to sell meat, right, like a butcher shop, that's probably not the best place to do it, right? If you're in a 5-mile radius where everybody eats vegetables or vegetarians or pescatarians, and you want to straight up sell meat like beef and pork, it's gonna be tough, because you're in the wrong space. You're in the wrong area for that. It's not a match. And so, that scenario does happen. But on top of that, the services, I lost my train of thought here. The services are per demographic, right? Per unique person. And what you can do is, what's cool about it too is like, if it already exists, for example, if you see another haircut place that charges $50, that means you can open up $50, or you can raise your prices to be $50, or you can lower your prices to be $50. So like, you could just see the many, 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 many examples of different haircut places, of different roofing companies, of different flooring companies, of different drywall companies, of different that was a little bit more unique, of of hood services for restaurants, right? The different doctors, what they charge, the different law offices, what they charge. So again, that's another thing that I like about local services. Like, they're not local businesses, local services. They're not necessarily like extremely innovative where you're trailblazing. You're more taking something that exists and making it unique to yourself, or straight up just there's one way of doing it, right? But you can, no matter how, you do want to make it your own brand, your own journey, your own process. That way, there's some character to your business. You're not just a commodity amongst the hundreds of other similar businesses. So that is point number one. It is need-based, and usually, like, if somebody needs it, they'll get it. So let's just run through those couple examples again, which I forgot to do here. Let me pull it up. So need-based. So you need your car clean. That person has to have their car clean. They're going to do it. They're either going to sell it. They have to sell it, so they got to get it clean. They're sick of it being so dirty, so on and so forth. Roofing company. Imagine you have a leak. Imagine that leak has been there for a couple of days, and it keeps raining, and it's literally pouring into your home. Need-based. Hailstorm, damaged roof, got to get that clean. we work with several roofing. Flooring, you could argue that that could be uh, flooring when it comes to like new construction. You gotta have a floor. Like you can't just not have a floor. If you're like remodeling your home, then I can understand that. But there are instances where flood happened. You have to get a new floor. I don't know if that's actually true. If it floods, do you have to get a new floor? But you get my point. Like in some cases, that is need based. Okay. Uh, you got your foot. I mean, any doctor, right? Like, yes, there's checkups, but like a lot of the times, it's like, first of all, checkups can be need based. Then your surgeries, you're in pain, so I need help, need based. I don't know what's wrong. I just know it hurts my foot. I need it checked, need based, and so on and so forth. Chiropractor is another one that we deal with. Law offices, right? I got stopped because I was drinking under the influence. Call a DUI attorney, need based for sure. I got locked up, criminal defense attorney. Immigration stuff happened, immigration attorney. So like super need based there. And then like an auto mechanic. Hey, my car broke down. Need based. Hey, I got a flat. Need based. Hey, I got to change my transmission because my car's not working anymore. Need based. So these examples go on and on. And so we'll move on from that point. So that was point number 1. Point number 2 is going to be area and location based. So what's really cool about, you can call it a pro, you can call it a con, but what I specifically like is that you are affecting a certain radius around you. So like, let's use the barber again as an example, even though that's not really like with we have one barber shop. So like it's like a local business, but it's not necessarily a service. It's not a professional service. It's like, I don't know, I guess like grooming services, right? So it's a sub category. Nonetheless, it is a need based, right? You gotta get your haircut. What are you gonna do? Like if you normally get haircuts, you're not just gonna skip it. And then it's area based, right? So the location part is you affect a certain area, and then you have control over that territory, or over that area, over that location, over that radius, whatever you want to call it. And so the view, the lens that you see your business in is limited. And I mean, you could say that's bad, but like, this is what you get to work with. And so the box is there of like, this is my equation, and my formula needs to be to take this area and get as many people to see what we do, and then get as many of those people who fit our how we can help them, who fit our requirements or their pain points. We can solve their pain points, right? So if they have those pain points that we can solve, we need as many of those people to contact us. And then from there, we need as many of those that actually contact us to come in to get the service or consultation or booking or whatever it is. So it makes it super easy. It's like it's not the whole world, right? If you ask somebody, so I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, not the other day, a couple months ago, and it sticks to me because just throwing it back. I was like, he was like, hey, so we were talking. I was like, so like, what do you like to do? Like, what do you envision doing? Like, what are you looking to do, right? And the end result was, I'm looking to help people. I love helping people. Like, that's my passion. I love helping people. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that is so broad that it's hard to define what it is you're doing, right? So like, it's too broad. Like, yes, you love helping, but how do you love to help them, and in what way, and how long does it take? And especially when it's for business, like helping people is great, but like you can't just help people for free. Like, you have to offer something of value so that you exchange, services for money or product for money, whatever it is. And that's too broad, right? So like, when the whole world is available, it's very difficult to say, well, what do we do and how do we find them? Whereas when it's an area base, it's like, okay, Houston, okay, Rhode Island, okay, Tahoe, Truckee, California. It's whatever area you can say, okay, we're here, and this is what we're going to do to help the people here who we can solve their problems. And so it makes it really simple. If you look at it that way, I think it makes it really simple. The third point I kind of touched on, the first one, is that they already exist, as in these businesses typically already exist. whether you are in construction, flooring, drywall, roofing, ventilation, HVAC, whether it's in the restaurant business, which you can consider a local business, of course, any of the equipment that goes there, all this stuff already exists. So you're not really, for the most part, like, I don't know what percentage, but like 80% of the work is visible and you can find and you can learn from. So it's easy to go and say, okay, what are they charging? What is the process? How long does it take for a service to be completed? How long does it take for, for the journey to be completed? Like, you could just look and see, okay, that's what they're doing. Here's how I can improve on it. And then, so I think there's 2 steps to it. It's like, hey, what are they doing? Okay, cool. I can copy that. That's like step 1, I feel. And then step 2 is like, okay, I can do that. So now how can I make that a version specific to our company or our brand or our services? That way, obviously, like, and this is kind of where it is a negative when you're a local business, is that you may just become a commodity that whatever everyone else offers, you offer too. And so, like, that's where you got to become or differentiate of like, okay, yeah, that is the way 90% of all tire companies doing it, but we're different in this regard. And that's how you create a competitive advantage, because you say, okay, well, look, they do it in 30 minutes, we can do it 20, or they do it for $20 and we do it for 15, or they do it for 20 and we do it for 35, but this is the reason why, and this is why you would want to pay those 15 extra dollars. So, like, there's a lot of ways, or it depends who you target. So, like, it's not a commodity. Like, you could say every haircut place cuts hair, but it's not. Like, I think everybody understands that, like, they're all different. There's some that are higher quality, lower quality, more expensive, less expensive. Some that are like right in the middle, right? Or some that give you extreme value. Lower cost, super high quality. What the heck? Like, that's awesome. Or vice versa, high cost, low quality. What the heck is that? Not going back. And so, there is a lot of ways. You're not a commodity. So, I do see that a lot, actually. I feel like Theo Von drinking liquid death. I do see that a lot, actually, where a lot of times companies will just blanket statement their business online. Like, hey, we're like everybody else, which actually kind of works if you think about it. If you say, hey, we're like every single other tire shop, just choose us because we're located here. That actually is enough to get customers from, by the way. But it is much better to say, hey, we're like everybody else, except we do it in 15 minutes. Except you buy 2, the third one's free. Except, you find your way in. And so point 3 is it exists. You can find it anywhere. And I think step 1 is like copying, and step 2 is make your own. All right. Step 4, this is kind of where Symphony Advertising, the website and marketing company that I run, is why I like it, specifically local businesses, local services, is because the marketing is super straightforward. Okay. Hey, what is the goal here? Just insert any local business. What would you like the marketing to do? I would like the marketing to get me more customers. Like, that is always it. So not only is it easy from a definition standpoint of like, what is it that the marketing should do, but it's also easy. That's why, speaking about differentiating, right? If you talk to any marketing company that is geared towards lead generation or local businesses or local services, of course, the play or the way in is we get you more leads. We are result driven. Like, they all are. We all are. Like, of course, you wouldn't pay money without a result. Like, that is like the most obvious thing the marketing company should do. Where you can get different, such as we do, is like we offer specific packages that are priced together so that it's very affordable, and you get stuff that you normally would have to get in 3 pieces, but you get them in 1, and then it's all included. So like, that's our way of saying like, yes, we do what everybody else does, but here's how we do it. And then we take it a step further and say, well, we specifically only focus on local businesses, local services. We wouldn't do e-commerce. We wouldn't do education. We wouldn't do any kind of startup. We wouldn't do any kind of, I think I said e-commerce. So we specifically only focus on local services with websites, SEO, and Google Ads. We don't even do social media. So again, like that is how we become unique instead of being like every other marketing company or every other digital marketing company. We are, oh, okay, that's what they do specifically. And they specialize in this. And so that is an example of how we try to stick out. And but yes, the marketing is straightforward. And so what would this local business like? They would like customers. Okay, great. And then as far as the tracking goes, that's also great too when marketing happens, right? Because okay, typically, my experience, and I'm very early in the game, right? Like going on 3 years. But typically what I have seen with local businesses, local services, like they don't usually run multiple campaigns at the same time. Like if they're using a marketing company, they're doing ads, SEO, and social media. Like that's, it's not like it's really what I'm getting at is like it's really easy to see, is it working or is it not? Because usually they're only using either one agency or they're themselves, right? Like maybe they're not using agency. Hey, we're gonna run Google ads on our own and we're gonna see if we get anything from it. So it's really easy to see like, okay, we spent $1,000. Did we get an increase in calls? Did we get an increase in customers? Did we get an increase in bad calls? Did we get an increase? It's very easy to see like, okay, we started doing something and we got something out of it, or we started doing something and nothing really happened. So, and then from my side, it's like, it's very obvious because if the customer, the local business, doesn't get any kind of result or any trend towards a result, it's like, okay, this isn't going to work out, because obviously the goal is, as mentioned earlier, to get more customers via these methodologies, which is SEO, Google Ads, and websites. So the marketing is straightforward, and I really like that. So to give you an example of what's not so straightforward is like, say you do education, right? An education site. And in this education site, people have to certify to become a cosmetologist. This is actually a real example. And so, first of all, building that site is way different than building a website for a local service. And then, so you do build it, right? Let's say you build it. And then while it is, what is the goal? The goal is to get people to sign up to that cosmetology place. But then now at this point, there's a lot of different steps here. It's not need-based. I mean, it is need-based, but it's more of an awareness issue of how do we find, like it's a couple layers deeper than just that person has a problem, we have a solution. This is more like, and I can't even really talk about it, to be honest with you. Like I'm trying to give a good example about that part, but like I don't understand that world, and so I'm not even really going to explain it. But the point is, it's not as straightforward. And then on top of that, like you have to get certified, you have to get the piece of paper printed out. It actually has to go through a government approval process for even the website to be, so like there's all these loops and hoops and bounds, and the same thing goes with e-commerce, which is why we don't really offer that anymore, is that it's just different. Like the web design process is, 50% the same, 50% different, because you have to build a store, and then inventory management. And the amount of issues that happen on an e-commerce store versus a just regular website is like 10 to 1, maybe more, 15 to 1. And so anyways, that again, reasons we don't do that, but reasons why we differentiate, because we don't just take anything on. This is what we're good at. We actually refer the stuff out. So just take what I'm saying and like make your version of that for whatever business you have, if you're listening with your own business, of course. So yeah, marketing is straightforward. And then point number 5, which is the last one, is word of mouth potential. So I think word of mouth potential is real with anything, right? Like the other day, actually yesterday, I got my car insurance, and then you know how I got it? So number one, those Allstate commercials with free advertising with Memo Ochoa, because he's the goalie for Mexico, and he made that block for Mexico, and I was like, okay, I need car insurance. I'm gonna get it from whoever he's with, because that actually works. But then you look up the prices, and you're like, why the heck is it that much? Like that seems like a little bit too much. Another point, like I'm not gonna overpay for insurance. If I don't have to, I'm not gonna pay for the name. I don't care. Like I don't care if it's Joe Schmo Insurance, same type of policy, but it's just not from, Memo Ochoa saving the goal. Like I actually don't care that much, right? And so went with a private, private agent or private, I don't know what it's called, but they can get anything. And the way I arrived to this person was like, I asked my friend group in the text, hey, who do you guys use? Somebody said Goose Insurance. And then I was like, all right, Goose Insurance. And then I went through the process, and now I have car insurance with Goose Insurance, who used I think it's called like Encompass or something. And so that is word of mouth. And so, I mean, everything online is word of mouth. If you say, hey, where'd you go? And you say, oh, go to symphonyadvertising.com. And they go to the website, that's word of mouth, even though it's going to be considered a website direct click, right? Like, it has to be found somewhere. So everything's word of mouth. I guess the proper definition of this would be like physical world, word of mouth potential. And specifically with local businesses, I feel like that is because you wouldn't refer somebody, right? Like if let's say I lived in, I don't know, Utah, and I was looking for, tire service. Like I'm never gonna refer Houston, right? Or no one's gonna refer Houston to me because I'm not there. And so you can really build on your community because it's location based. I guess this goes back to point 2. And I mean, personally, I've seen it. It's so interesting too. Like whenever people run ads, SEO ads, web design, and they start getting customers via those channels, and then what naturally happens is, let's say they got 10 new customers per month. And then what happens is, like, let's say after a couple months, those customers that came in through Google Ads will then transition to word of mouth referral. So I always say, like, I don't always say, but like, I always let people know, like, every customer that comes in, no matter how, is a potential word of mouth referral. So even though data wise, you say you spend $100, that's not realistic. You spend $1,000 and you got 10 customers, right? And you might say, okay, well, that's not bad. That's not great. And I don't know if I should be spending $1,000 every month just to get 10 customers. Okay, well, let's do 3 months. You spend $3,000. You got 30 customers. But I think what people don't really see until it happens is like, oh, those 30 customers have 30 boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, daughter, son, friend, best friend, co-workers, boss, subordinate, is that what it's called? Grandma, grandpa. There's a network. Every single person is within a network, and sometimes, all right, you will run. So like every now and then you'll just get like a referral, like, oh, hey, my friend used you, or hey, my cousin used you, so that's why I came here. But every now and then, it's just stuff lines up. Hey, by the way, I let's say it's a car shop, right? Oh, hey, by the way, I work at a dealership, and we actually need all our tires. Actually, here's not great to work with dealerships, but as an example, like, oh, hey, by the way, like, we have a lot of work. I happen to have 8 cars at private dealership. I have 8 cars that need new tires. We're a luxury brand, and we'll pay good money to get this done. Like, that actually does happen. So like fleet work, bulk work, or just like good people to know, happens like that. So don't be surprised if that happens. Anyways, that is going to conclude the 5 reasons why service-based businesses are great, why I like working with them, why people should keep doing them. This is all pros. I think I said 1 con. And yeah, this is the first episode of 2023. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any subjects that you'd like me to cover, let me know. Have a good one. Peace.